this episode, my pain is your gain in entertainment. Anyway, these are the toys that I wish I would have had as a kid, so stick around. Hello folks, and welcome to Days of Dorker Past. My name's Rob, and this is the 5th installment of Toys I Wish I Had as a Kid. As usual, this is a mishmash of toys that either slipped through my fingers, or I just wish I had and just never had seen it, or just never had the opportunity. Let's kick things off with a Transformers figure that I wish I would have had, and that is Reflector. Released in 1986 here in America, Reflector was a wide-release figure in Japan during 1985. Reflector here in America was a mail-away exclusive that would cost you $10 and 2 robot points. That's a pretty fair deal when considering Reflector is actually 3 robots in 1. See, Reflector was 3 different parts to a camera. What's cool about the camera is it would have fit right alongside Soundwave in my collection. I didn't have that many, but Soundwave with his little tape deck was one of my prized possessions, and to have a camera that kind of fit that mythos would have been awesome. Another great thing about Reflector is when the Transformers cartoon first started, they really didn't have that many Decepticons, so Reflector kind of filled a niche, and he was the troop builder of the group. There were a lot of scenes where you would see dozens of Reflector's robots walking around, gathering energon, and helping Soundwave to create it. On a few occasions, we actually saw Reflector turn into a camera to do some spying missions on the Autobots. But with his major exposure in the cartoon, fitting in with Soundwave, it was a figure, well, 3 figures I wish I really had. Now, I really can't remember why. It may have just been the whole mail-away aspect of it. It could have just been my parents didn't want to waste $10. It could have been that I didn't have 2 robot points laying around. I don't know. There's plenty of reasons why, I guess, but the fact still remains. I wish I would have had him, and like most things on these lists, I still wish I had him today. Next on the list is a Talking Kit 2000 from Kenner, made in 1983. Like most kids in the 80s, I thought Knight Rider was the apex of TV entertainment. You can't get much cooler than a sleek, glossy black Firebird that can talk to you. Pair that talking car with a fresh-faced, heroic David Hasselhoff, decked out in the most awesome of leather members only type of jacket. I don't know. I'm not one for fashion, but I know what is cool. Anyway, this toy from Kenner emulated that awesomeness to a T. First off, what made this awesome is a Michael Knight figure. Yes, you too could own a little David Hasselhoff, and he was done in the Kenner style. So unfortunately, very low articulation, but he had that sweet leather jacket on. Pair that with a red turtleneck and probably the tightest jeans you can find, and you had Michael Knight. They also sold this figure separately, carded, which is pretty cool, but why bother? You want Kit with them. But on a side note, super duper double points if you got the Super Machina version of Michael Knight. This version was fully articulated, kind of like the Mego figures at the time, like the MASH figures and Chip figures, and he packs an M16. This is one Michael Knight that don't mess around. Anyway, back to Talking Kit. The Talking Kit is almost perfection. It features the glossy black color scheme of the original Firebird, and the interior looks like Darth Vader's bathroom.
Welcome aboard the Knight 2000.
Thank you. What's all this? Looks like Darth Vader's bathroom.
The stickers on the inside of the, would you call it a cockpit? Anyway, the stickers were awesome, and they looked just like the real kit on the inside. Now to the talking part. You push down on the license plate that says Knight, and Kit would talk to you. He would say everything from the laser scanners were operational to just call me Kit for short. Awesome. Who wouldn't want a kit of their very own? And it's the perfect scale that any G.I. Joe figure could just hop right in and go along for a ride. Again, I think this was just something that I didn't really know existed. It was 1983, and my parents didn't really take me out that much when I was that young, so I never really saw him out on the shelves, and I don't think I ever saw a kid playing with one. Just a really lost opportunity. I wish I would have had one, and dare I say it yet again, I wish I still had it today. I would cherish it. Number 3 on the list is an Energized Spiderman, made by Remco in 1978. This was the pinnacle of Spider-Man's hotness at the time. You had a Spider-Man TV show, his comics were flying off the shelves, he had a cartoon, Spider-Man was everywhere. Now, this is one that I was way too young to remember it being sold in the stores, but this is one of those scenarios where I ran into it at a Goodwill. I can remember it wasn't in the best of shape, and for some reason I have the vivid recollection that the battery compartment was a little rusted over. I guess these are the reasons that my mom didn't get it for me. I mean, probably at that time it was a quarter or something. A quarter for months of therapy. Anyway, this Energized Spider-Man had everything. It had a little motor in it that you could pull string out of his hand and attach it to something with a little grappling hook thing, and he would scale up it. He even had, and at the time this was a thing, kids, the Spider-Man flashlight. It was either in his belt buckle or his chest. I can't remember. But you could shine the spider light in the darkest of shadows. Okay, I stand corrected. I had to look this one up because that just didn't sound right what I was saying. So let me read from the actual page of the Remco catalog. And it says, the amazing Energized Spider-Man with new spider sense and motorized web climber. Show off the logo here on my phone. Anyway, Spider-Man to the rescue with energized action. Throw the switch on his energy belt and watch him climb. Pull or lift with his motorized web clinger. And now, Energized Spider-Man has Spider Sense too. Place the Spider Sense viewer in front of his eyes. Spin his Spider Sense activator. Look through Spider-Man's eyes and watch the evil Red Dragon. Who the heck is Red Dragon? Anyway, and Dr. Doom spring into lifelike action. You see what Spider-Man sees. Now, no villain can escape this amazing crime fighter. Plug the Plug the spider light into his energy belt to light the night. Energized Spider-Man complete with web, spider light, spider sense viewer, and viewing strip with 6 color frames. Requires 1 C battery. Now, what the light was, and probably even the viewer, Spider-Man had a little, like, coaxial hookup on his belt. So the spider light is an actual, looks like a little flashlight that he could hold that the wire would plug into. So I was way off base saying it was mounted in his chest or his belt. I knew it was something with the belt, but couldn't remember. Anyway, this was an awesome toy, kind of like the ROM toy that I talked about a few episodes ago. This was the cutting edge of toy technology. Very awesome. And by Remco, a toy company that does not get a lot of attention anymore. I mean, to me and a lot of, dare I say, poor kids, Remco was everything. If you couldn't afford a He-Man figure, you could afford an Arak, Son of Thunder figure, or a Warlord figure. If you couldn't afford G.I. Joe, pick up a Sergeant Rock. Remco had you covered. Anyway, on to the next toy. This is another toy from the 70s, this time from 1979, and it's Crusher from Mattel. This toy was everything to me at one time. Just look at it, how awesome it is. I mean, this was another one that you could pick up on the flea market, yard sale, and Goodwill circuit. He was actually everywhere. Again, a missed opportunity because, yeah, my parents just didn't get me a lot of toys spur of the moment. Hey, that makes me who I am today, good and bad. Good because I can appreciate the finer things, the little things, the simpler things in life. But on the bad side, I'm a toy junkie. Anyway, Crusher was kind of the next step of the Stretch Armstrong thing. Instead of stretching him, he had a little pressure valve on his back, on his belt. So you could release the pressure and squeeze him and shrink him down into nothing. And then that's what he would be. Until you release the pressure again and whoosh, he would expand back to his original form. Now, I did tell you that it was a missed opportunity, but here's another opportunity that was horrifically missed by me. One of my buddies that we'd been friends since elementary school, he had one. And yeah, I lusted after that toy. It would just sit there in his room and collect dust. He was a monster-phile, a monster kid like me, so that's why he loved it. But when he got to that certain age that unfortunately a lot of us get to, he wanted to see what made Crusher tick. So he cut it up and then bragged about the pieces. He showed me the foam, what that was his blood and guts of poor Crusher. And unfortunately that's an image that scars my mind to this day. Anyway, on to the next toy. The next toy on the list, I feel like I've talked about before, but if I did, it just bears repeating because it was one of the most iconic and awesome toys that I wish I had right this minute sitting with me. He would be a pal. He would be a friend. A friend that wouldn't destroy Crusher. One that would cherish Crusher as much as I would. Anyway, that friend is My Pet Monster. Made by American Greetings in 1986, My Pet Monster was an awesome stuffed animal aimed right at boys. I'm sure a lot of girls could appreciate it as well, but the marketing campaign, it was aimed right at us. This awesome furry beast with his breakable handcuffs was the pinnacle of coolness. Now, I can't comment on the cartoon because I don't remember seeing it. I don't think it aired in syndication around me. All I had to go by was the toy, and I wanted it so bad. But unfortunately, in 1986, I was 10 years old, and my parents looked at a stuffed animal at that price range, and said I didn't need it. Because, why, I'm 10. I'm a little man. Why would I want to play with stuffed animals? Wow, how wrong they were. Because you may see a stuffed animal. I see an awesome monster collectible. An awesome monster friend. And may I add, as a little side note, when it comes to stuffed animals, I still was rocking my stuffed Wicket up until middle school. So, ha! The joke's on you, Mom and Dad! Anyway, this has just been a brief list. A list that will probably go on forever because there were so many toys that I wish I would have had. Either through hindsight or through scarred psyche. Of ones that were right there in my hand and they just slipped away like sand. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you liked it, give me a big thumbs up. If you got something to say, please leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to everybody. And if you're new around here and you enjoyed this, please subscribe. And if you hit that little bell, you'll be notified whenever there's a new episode. So, until next time, keep being rad and stay dorky.